Buckle up. It is time to get into the Snatch Game of love for All Stars 9, and I'm really, really excited. Hi, hello everyone, welcome in back to my channel. And you know, I promised last week that I wasn't gonna complain every single episode, and I'm trying really, really, really hard. I need you to know I'm trying so hard. I feel like I'm just making these reviews to do them, and I don't want to have to do that. If the next one's a bomb, I might stop. I'm just not vibing so hard with this season, and I don't want to feel like I have to create content for the purpose of doing it. I might shift entirely out of like formulaic. Actually, I'm gonna do that today. We're not gonna talk about the step-by-steps because I'm just not inspired. So I'm gonna talk about what I wanna talk about with these episodes, and we're gonna move away from what I've been doing. So if this is not the type of content that you wanna see, I totally understand, totally get it. It's just how I have to tackle this season for my own mental health. Starting out this episode, I'm not wanting to call for violence or anything. I don't wanna raise up an army or a mob or something, nor do I wanna make anybody like go on the attack mode, but like, the internet on a whole has been attacking Q left and right for her voice and the way that she says things. And I am not a person of color that is able to speak on that and what that impact is. But as far as I can tell, Chanel is doing the exact same thing. And I don't see the internet talking about it. And with accountability for people's actions, the idea should be to help you grow and learn so that you don't do it anymore. Where everything with Q has just been on the attack and like, here's let's make fun of you. And I don't want people to do that to Chanel, but like, shouldn't people be holding her accountable too? There's some drama at the start of the episode about Liberace, and my biggest question is, how do we get to All Stars 9 and you don't have a backup? 1. 2, out of the billions of people that exist on this earth, like millions upon millions of celebrities, celebrity adjacent people, famous people, how do we get to this season and there are people that have the same character? Like, there's just no way in my brain that if I were to go to Drag Race in my own fantastical fantasy world where I'm like really good at drag and I'm at the highest level of my field at the time, and I get to Snatch Game, which I already think needs to go away, but we'll get there in a second. If I knew this, I would go in with my characters and I would pick people that I know haven't even been close to being done. I've got in my back of my head, Ina Garten, Rachel Ray, Sandra Lee, you know, like really hammering in on Food Network people so that if somebody else in the room is something kind of close to what I'm doing, I can sort of adjust, like doing Rachel, being a little more loud and abrasive and like aggressive with answers. Ina being a lot more like, I'm better than all of you, you're all really stupid, and then being the boozy character with Sandra, but having the food focused element among all of that, it's really easy to connect with. Those would just be like some baseline people so that I could sort of adjust as I need to, that if someone in the room is doing someone boozy, I act Sandra and I go to one of the other two options, right? How do we get to this point where two people have chosen Liberace and they're unwilling to budge? And I get like if you only practice Liberace, maybe like in their brains they thought, nobody's gonna do that. This is such an obscure character. But the formula of Drag Race at this time is like, let's get so far out of the box that we now are in unchartedly weird territories. And I'm not saying Liberace's weird, but like it has gotten to the point now where it's so meta and so odd, and you are trying to get so strained from what is the expectation that you then go to some random nail tech because you're trying to be obscure. But there are so many people that have not been done in pop culture currently, and there's plenty of people who haven't even been done well. I mean, the entire Kardashian family. Fierce Delicious did a really good, I think it was Chloe. And if you're gonna do a dude, you could do somebody weird like Zuckerberg, Elon, fuck, Joe Biden. Let's talk about Snatch Game just as a whole, because I asked during UK versus the World Season 2 how y'all would feel if Snatch Game was axed and gone. Recently, Evie was talking in an interview about how Snatch Game is the only challenge in Drag Race that is completely contingent on one person's humor and comedy level, and Rue's comedy is suspicious. Rue's taste level is suspicious. And Rue doesn't get half of the pop culture references that a lot of these girls would be bringing if they were able to. And that is bothersome, watching them have to try and adjust to something that Rue's going to understand and laugh at. So in my opinion, I think Snatch Game should go. There's just too many components, there's too many elements, it's way too subjective, and it's just gotten stale. I don't know if there's a way to revive Snatch Game as it exists now, and certainly the Of Love format is big, 2 thumbs down, giant farts out of a wind tunnel. It's bad. Snatch Game of Love is bad, and I wish that we would stop doing it, because not only do you have to flex all of your improv skills and your comedy, your taste level, your ability to impersonate someone, you are also on top of that then trying to figure out how that person would flirt with someone. And that is hard to do, one. And it's also not super fair when your barometer of judging is one older dude who really doesn't understand current pop culture or even jokes. Because there were a lot of things that were said in this Snatch Game that I giggled at, that I was like, oh, that was cute. But then Rue was just like, huh. And if this were a elimination style season, this would have been the most cringy Snatch Game in the world, because they wouldn't have had to do all the gymnastics to try to edit this Snatch Game to be interesting or funny. So there's that piece. Going into Snatch Game, I'm starting to really wonder what the hell is going on with Chanel's edit and why they're working so hard to erase her from this season, because she didn't get to talk about her charity last week, and this week she was cut from the deliberation walkthrough with Rue, and even then her deliberation and critique were really short. So I don't know if Chanel just didn't give them anything, or if they didn't like what they got, if what was in the can was not conducive for a good storyline, or what. But like, Chanel might as well not be here. And I very much felt that way about how she was portrayed in the Snatch Game, because Rue seemed like he could not have been less bothered by Chanel's Liberace, but then Nina like breathed and Rue was already laughing and asking more engaging questions and trying to really get down into who Nina's Liberace was, but didn't really seem to care very much about what Chanel was doing. And I'm just really getting the feeling that they're paying her dust, that they brought her here because they needed an 8th person, nobody else said yes, and so now they're just like, whatever about her. That's how it feels to me. Really quick breakdown, I was not happy about Tasha Salad being there. That's not a celebrity, that's not what I want from Drag Race, that is just an improv character. I don't enjoy it, and I think that was lazy, and honestly, I think that Roxy is so lucky that this was a non-elimination season, because she didn't have to worry about having somebody good, but also now she doesn't have to worry about being embarrassed by not being able to do a Snatch Game a second time in a row after doing such a great Tamar the first time and really setting a bar for what Snatch Game should be, and also allowing us to have Tamar on the seasons at all. I think if Roxy hadn't done Tamar in 5, we would have never gotten her in 7, and we would have never gotten her on 9 showing up as a guest judge. So Roxy is to thank for that, but then she bombed so hard in All Stars 2 that she had a really high redemptive moment, and she didn't reach that redemptive moment at all. And on top of it, it wasn't a good Snatch Game character. Angeria looked beautiful. I really enjoyed all of her humor. I thought she was funny. I thought she was engaging. I really thought Angeria should have been top 2. Chanel's outfit was stunning, and she wasn't really given any opportunities to be funny, in my opinion. And people say that on the show all the time, like, I didn't feel like I got an opportunity, and Rue goes, well, you got the same amount of time as everyone else. But if Rue just says, oh, hey, it's Liberace, good to see ya, how you doing today? Good, moving on. And then the next one goes, oh my god, it's Liberace, tell me about your favorite song you just made. Oh my goodness, have you had a lot of intimate relationships with people before? Is this your first game show? Tell me everything about it. Oh, how you feeling about being on the Snatch Game right now? There's totally different energies between the way that Rue talked to Chanel and Rue talked to Nina. And I don't think Chanel was given the opportunity to be funny. Georges looked beautiful. She looked like she came straight out of Tu Wong Fu, and I love that she did that character. It was a really great choice. I thought a lot of her jokes were funny. Date Me If You Want to Gape Me was the funniest thing I think I've heard on Snatch Game of Love, probably of all time. And Rue didn't even get it. And that's why Rue should not be hosting the Snatch Game anymore, because that was a funny joke and literally anybody of a certain age would understand that and would get the reference and the meme and they would giggle. And of that group, Georges was my favorite, Angeria was my second favorite, Chanel was third, and then obviously Roxy was dead last. And then for group 2, the reveal that Vanjie did was so unnecessary, but it was cute. I thought she was funny and her makeup looked beautiful. I don't think I've seen Vanjie look so pretty before, and I did not expect her to be funny in that character. I'm on my pyramid that was brilliant. That was so good. Rue seemed to have a lot more fun with Nina's Liberace than he did with Chanel, so obviously Nina did great. It was very much the same character to me as Ben's Paul Lind. Like if you were to take them together, their energy and cadence and the way that they were rizzing with Rue was practically the same. Like I would imagine that Nina probably studied Bendela to get point of references for how to make Rue laugh and did that. And I do think that's good studying. You know, if you know you're going to the Snatch Game, you know you're going to be in front of Rue. Riff off of something that's already worked before. Plastique was the ultimate levels of cringe. I had such a hard time watching literally everything she did and I wanted it to end faster than it started. And controversially, I didn't really love Mick's performance. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't live, laugh, loving. I thought it wasn't giving dog, it was giving kitsune, it was giving fox, it was giving another canine, but certainly not dog and absolutely not lassie. The artistry was immaculate and I really loved what Mick did visually. I thought a couple of the jokes were silly and cute, nothing that made me giggle too hard, but they were fine. And for me, this was the weaker group, and had Nina not been here, this group would have been unwatchable. Like if we had swapped Nina and Chanel, this group would have been ultimate levels of cringe, because I think all the jokes were so good because Nina was kind of gassing up everybody and leading them all along the way. And if this were an elimination season, Plastique and Chanel would absolutely be in the bottom this week. Although if we're following the timeline of the way that I've already started eliminating people in this alternate reality, it probably would be Plastique and Vanjie, with Nina winning the challenge, which honestly would be kind of cunt considering that that would be the entire season 11 triad there, and Nina having to choose one of her season sisters would be so fun to watch that kind of deliberation happen. We're gonna get to that lip sync in just a minute. I wanna breeze through the runway because I'm not gonna focus too much on it. Tail and two titties was such an odd concept that I don't know if had a ton of payoff. Angeria's Devil was probably one of my favorite looks. I thought it really hit the mark in a way that I wasn't expecting, but it was good. It wasn't too far out of the box. How in the hell did we get two scorpions and they both were not good? And what do scorpions have to do with titties? I didn't like it. Nina was totally off theme, and I thought these girls got a stipend for their runways. Is the stipend in the room with us that they got? I will say I loved Mick's concept. Doing the two titties story, talking about top surgery on the runway was really impactful, and I think that's very important for a lot of trans masc, trans men that are in our community that are looking for someone that represents them, that they can look to and see like, I could be there too. That's very important. And I think that this runway assignment, I think this runway interpretation was great. I just didn't think the tail was enough. And despite it being really cool, it's sort of like other looks that I've seen on other seasons where it's like, damn, that was such a cool runway, but what did it have to do with the prompt? Like, in my opinion, I really loved Marsha's tie-dye look. I loved that tie-dye look a lot because it was, the character was Marsha getting hit by the football, but it had nothing to do with tie-dye. I may have loved it, and I may have said, I think this is my favorite look of the night because of how creative it is. It has nothing to do with the prompt. And, you know, you could argue that the two titties part is the exact prompt, but then the tail part was out, and this very much felt like it was supposed to be a furry runway. Like furry representation, go furries, rah rah furries, hell yeah furry community, come to DragCon and spend your money. It didn't really meet the assignment for me, despite how cool it was. Those prosthetic arms that were moving were, God, probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I felt like overall, everybody kind of missed the mark. I liked the idea of what Roxy did with Jessica Rabbit, but it was a little Party City. But I will say, Plastique, being cunty Alolan Ninetales. There was nothing better than that. It was everything. I mean, it was absolutely kitsune, but it was everything. That was Plastique's existence. It blows me out of the water. Like, how do you look like that? Just so casually? And like, you don't look like you're trying that hard. You know, some people just make beauty look effortless. That's Plastique. So the lip sync is Banana by Anita featuring Becky G. And my question is, how did the two whitest girls in the cast get the most flavorful song? And I understand that the singer of this song was present at the judging table, but they could have put Angeria or Georges up there just so that it wasn't two white girls lip syncing to this song, which required so much lip syncing ability and so much presentation and so much spice that neither one of these girls have. Like, in my opinion, I think Mick was giving the same amount of energy as last week, which was like 3 out of 10 on a really good day, and it was fine. And Nina, we waited 3 episodes for her in this lip syncing dress, for her to badly peel away 187 pieces of costume to literally litter the floor like it was the Rupocalypse challenge in season 4, where all those garbage clothes were all over the ground from the zombies. It looked like a battlefield. And in my opinion, nobody won that fight. They were just throwing things. It was nonsense everywhere. It was just buffoonery. It was ridiculous. I'm not a fan of leaving crap on the runway because you're making an assumption that someone's gonna get it for you. You're slowing down the show. You're causing everything to go to a halt. And unless you're gonna pick it up yourself, which does not equal fierceness, watching a drag queen wearing almost nothing, walking around scooping up clothes, it's not fierce, it's not stunning, it's not cunt. And honestly, it was just a mess. We waited 3 episodes for that mess, and the payout wasn't worth it. But I will say, the edit was really harping in on Mick, but they could not edit out the fact that the girls were freaking out over Nina. So a lot of people love to talk about lip syncs and how they were skewed towards one contestant or the other, and how in UK versus the World, it was very clear that Marina beat Tia because blah, 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 blah. But here we have concrete evidence, proof that the girls in the room were live, laugh, loving what Nina was doing. Even if it was messy, they loved it. And we could hear them screaming her name the whole time. Not one person was screaming for Mick. And Mick won. So it leads me to wonder, did RuPaul just really hate it? Or was their narrative that Mick had to win, and so they were gonna give it to Mick no matter what? It didn't matter how much the room was living for Nina. But that was definitely an odd situation for me, even though I didn't think the lip sync was good. I'm making it very clear, I thought it was a bad lip sync. Mick then chooses Georges, which I think was a smart idea because Georges is really like turning out a lot of really interesting things. I think Georges is proving to be a threat. And we find out that next week's challenge is a makeover with firefighters. Now, I'm super invested in the firefighters because they were hot and buff, and I think I saw a fuzzy man. And I am more here for those men than I am for the rest of the season. I feel like Gia in that talent show. I was so bored. And I'm trying really hard not to complain. I'm trying so hard. Not doing well at that, but I'm trying. Quick recap of this fake universe that I've created. Week 1, Roxy goes home. Week 2, Chanel goes home. This week, Chanel wouldn't be here, and Roxy wouldn't be here to bomb. So I do think that it would have been Vanjie and Plastique in the bottom, and I do think that Nina probably would have won if this was a lip syncer versus lip sync assassin situation, not a top 2. And to be honest, I think that Plastique would be out. I don't see a world where Vanjie would be out because Plastique is more of a threat in the competition and has already won a challenge. And I see Nina being someone who would be smart enough to recognize that Plastique is going to go really far, so snip her now. So, and I think the group would probably also feel very similarly. I don't know who the lip sync assassin would be. I think that Nina would have lost, but I do think both parties, both the group and Nina would have chosen Plastique to go because she's got the most chance of winning. But let me know your thoughts on this episode, and I will reluctantly see you next time. Goodbye. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to click that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Goodbye.